Tonight, we are going to be getting back to our roots. We are going to be getting back to the largest fantasy football tournament on the planet. But first, we need to warm up. First, we need to go ahead and get in a $5 puppy draft. Again, I would say this is where you should do your practice drafts. This is the arena. This is the gauntlet, whatever you want to call it, right? This is where you get in there, you take out the sword, you sharpen it, hit it against some rocks, and swing at the air, make sure that you're nice and ready to go. The on-deck circle for the real deal. But just in case you haven't seen the tournament before, sure you're living on the rock if that's the situation, because there've already been 125,000 teams drafted in this, like over the past week, maybe even less than that. It's a $5 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, 100K to first, 75K to second, all the way down the line. You can see the prices there. But if you're looking at the advancement structure, 2 of the top 12 teams in weeks 1 through 14 will advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. That's out of the teams that you drafted against, where then you'll go up against 9 teams in week 15. If you're the highest scoring team, you'll go up against 9 teams in week 16. If you're the highest scoring team, and week 17, you'll go up against 374 teams. And if you're the highest scoring team there, that's how you turn $5 into $100,000. So I will just let you know, you probably shouldn't be looking at the $100,000 prize, because the odds you win that, considering the fact that I am drafting in this tournament, slim to none, because I was put on this planet for one thing and one thing only, and that was to win fantasy football drafts. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out to hang out with us. And hopefully you can get in the next draft. We'll see. But the Ladster says he's going to be the one to take down the tourney. Well, the Ladster sent me a pretty interesting team earlier on Twitter. Looking exciting. I don't know if you saw my response, but Danny got CeeDee Lamb at pick 7, which we're at 7 right now. And if I would have got Lamb there, I would have done a little dance. But knowing Danny, I'm sure that dance would have been even bigger. And again, I know we've talked about this a lot, but in my mind, there is a tier of 6 players in fantasy football drafts this year. There is Chase, Barkley, Bijan, Jefferson, Lamb, and Jahmyr Gibbs. If you get any of these players at either pick 7, which obviously you need one of them to fall, or obviously if you're a pick 6, just one of them is going to naturally fall, they are auto picks. You don't think about it, you select them, and you move on. So we get Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 7. Exciting times, exciting day. It's going to make this draft pretty damn good, and I'm not going to complain about it for a single second. But John, welcome to being a mother flocker. Happy to have you, my friend. And yes, we do get lucky to grab Gibbs at 7. Like, it's not going to be the most common thing, right? But I stand by in these tournaments on Underdog. If it's like the puppy tournament specifically with the $5 buy-in, $1 million prize pool, if you want to get that first place prize of $100,000, you probably not only need to get lucky in week 17, but you probably need to get lucky in week 16, week 15, weeks 1 through 14, as well as in the draft itself. So it looks like we're getting lucky in the draft itself right now with the Jahmyr Gibbs pick. We will take A.J. Brown very, very easily. Underdog, you can fall behind at wide receiver quickly. Deciding to pass on wide receivers the first 2 rounds isn't my go-to strategy. I will do it if we don't have a receiver as exciting as A.J. Brown. But, I mean, here, I actually just pulled this up on the player comparison. And let me show y'all real quick. I actually have the screenshot already prepped. Look at A.J. Brown versus Lamb, Jefferson, Chase over the past 3 years with their yards per route run. 2.85 yards per route run for A.J. Brown. Higher than all 3 of these other receivers. 30.8% team target share. Higher than the 3 other receivers. Like, A.J. Brown's an elite talent. Issue last year is, I don't know, they didn't throw the ball enough. So if the Philadelphia Eagles didn't throw the ball enough last season, yes, A.J. Brown was maybe a little more disappointing than usual. Like, we can go ahead and pull this up as well. This is also on the site. He falls down to wide receiver 13, which is the lowest mark that we've seen from him since his final season at Tennessee. But again, his target share and his yards per route run were higher than ever. It's just the Philadelphia Eagles were the worst team in the NFL when it comes to passing attempts, which there's only one direction that can possibly go. So A.J. Brown, historically, over the past few years, has been around 1 pick. If I'm going to get him in the middle of round 2, he is an auto pick for myself. Okay. Omar says, how long did Underdog take to pay you your 100,000? So I won that year that I won those tournaments on Underdog. I withdrew probably 150,000. We're going to take Trey McBride here. Thank God we didn't go Bowers in round 2, knowing that we get McBride. So I can't. Maybe I kept like 10,000 on Underdog and I withdrew 140,000, whatever it may be. Like we withdrew like 140 or 150,000 whenever we had those wins. So there are two different options, at least at the time, to withdraw money on Underdog, which were the PayPal option and then the like direct wire to a bank. So I won the 150,000 on Underdog and I went, hell yeah, let me run and let me try to send this to my PayPal. I'm not thinking, I'm an idiot. Which I don't know exactly what the mark of Underdog going like, hey, we're not paying PayPal fees for 150K is. Maybe it's 100,000. I don't know what it is. So that day they emailed me saying like, dear fantasy flock, give us your bank info to submit a wire with your withdrawal or whatever. And then that day I instead realized, okay, I can't do the PayPal for this amount. I gave them the wire info and then they sent me the 150K. I don't know if it hit my bank the next day, 2 days later, or 3 days later. But it was like the day of. Short enough time where I have no idea how long it was. We're going to take Xavier Worthy. We need another wide receiver here. I mean, you could go ahead and you could take Josh Allen. I'm sorry, not Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts to pair up with A.J. Brown. But for us, only having one wide receiver through the first 3 rounds, wide receiver is going to be my play in the 4th. Yes, soon it's going to be 2 million. And whenever I win the 2 million in Best Ball Mania, I will make sure Underdog sends me that money through PayPal. Only option I'm giving them. But obviously I'm joking. But if y'all did want to draft a team on Underdog, we're drafting here every single night. Their Best Ball drafts, again, for the 1,000th time. This isn't going to replace your main fantasy football league. It's not replacing my main fantasy football league. It's just some extra fun for me to have in July, August, September. And since there's no time commitment at all during the season, I can focus in on the flock league during the year, making sure I have my start set decisions and my waiver wire and trades down to a T in that league. But if you wanted to get into an extra draft, if you wanted to practice for your main draft, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the description, comment section, live chat. I put it everywhere. It just says draft with us here. And if you use code FLOCK, you will get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you'll get all our 2025 Fantasy Football Draft Guide cheat sheets, plus rankings for like your ESPN sleeper drafts. You can also just scan the QR code on the screen. And if you wanted to get in an Underdog draft, you do need to be in one of these states. You can see the map here, which states Underdog is in and which states they are not. They're not in Louisiana, Nevada, Washington, Montana, Maine. I don't want to even say Connecticut. I can't guarantee that's Connecticut. Y'all know I'm not the best with maps. You can look at the map yourself. Okay. I guess it says payouts come fast. Let's see. Jalen Waddle is going to be a super easy pick for us here. Like, Waddle was an okay pick in round 5 where I was not necessarily going on my way to getting him. I mean, I was actually kind of underweight Jalen Waddle in round 5 earlier this offseason. But post Jonnu Smith trade, Waddle's a lot more appealing for us now. So we still need wide receiver help. We only have A.J. Brown and Xavier Worthy at receiver. So we will go ahead and we'll take Jalen Waddle. Okay. Black Suit says, I saw Gibbs go number 1 today. The hype is real. Is there, let me see, is there any hype that I'm maybe missing? Like, was there a report that came out about Jahmyr Gibbs to move him up ahead of either of the, like, what has changed in Detroit? Like, what do you mean the hype is real? Are there just people pumping up Jahmyr Gibbs? Let me pull up. I did notice the rankings on the sites. So these aren't my rankings. These are the average rankings for everybody on flockfantasy.com. I noticed they had Gibbs ahead of Bijan Robinson, which actually the expert average has them identical, but still, I thought it was crazy because I have Gibbs at 6 in my rankings and I have Bijan at 2 for redraft leagues. Caleb Johnson goes ahead of us. We're still playing catch-up receiver. Kinda. I like Trevion Henderson more than Olave, though. So I still think wide receivers probably are preferred play. No, I mean, we only have Gibbs through the first 5 rounds. We can afford to take a running back. I think in round 6, we can just go with our favorite player and not necessarily have to think too much about the positions of them. Okay, so people saying that Gibbs is supposed to be lining up more on the outside this year. That's interesting to note because if you look at Jahmyr Gibbs from his rookie season to year 2, his target share actually fell from 14.1% down to 12.1%. Like his receiving yards managed to go up, but this was with his targets going down. So his yards per target jumped from 4.5 to 8.2 from year 1 to year 2. So he was used less as a receiver last year, but was more efficient when he was targeted. So that is an interesting note. Let me pull him up. In comparison to like Bijan last season. So looking at Gibbs versus Bijan last year, like it does just look like, yes, Gibbs obviously outpaced Bijan in pretty much every receiving metric outside of targets. Bijan was definitely used more as the workhorse, like Gibbs 56% of the snaps, Bijan 76%. I'm probably not moving Gibbs for my rankings. I'm going to keep him at 6. Here, a thing that we have to consider is our quarterback options. So I may have Shakir ranked over Matthew Golden. And if like I took Jalen Hurts in round 4 and quarterback didn't really matter for us, I think we probably would go ahead and we would take Shakir. But we have A.J. Brown as our wide receiver 1. Jalen Hurts is already off. That's no longer an option for us. I'm not that excited to take Tua with Waddle. I want to give myself a quarterback that we can be excited to grab, which Matthew Golden does open the door for us to be able to just take Jordan Love later. So we'll go Matthew Golden for this team. Alan asking if we're going to do 2 or 3 drafts tonight. We should do 3 drafts tonight. So if you haven't already, go down there and hit that like button for us. And if you are coming in late because you didn't know when we were going to go live, hit the bell next to the subscribe button and YouTube will tell you when we are live. Okay. Jay Melly says, can I start a draft in a state that allows it, then finish a draft in another state where you can't? Yeah, so it's a common thing for like people to enter into slow drafts on Underdog when they are... I'm going to go with Ayuk. I know everybody is scared off Ayuk, given the fact he's not going to be ready at the beginning of the year. But if you're trying to turn $5 into $100,000, we really need to be looking at those final 3 weeks. Another reason I liked Ayuk is because we thought we put ourselves in a position to take Purdy later. Purdy goes immediately after, which does kind of suck for us. But yeah, so it's like a common thing. I know the FSC guys that live in Ontario where there is an Underdog, when they go down to like New York or when they go to Texas, they'll enter in a bunch of slow drafts and then they'll just finish them off when they're in Ontario. Okay. And yeah, so we have Najee news in that it sounds like Najee's eye injury is pretty serious, or at least more serious than initially it was indicated to be. So like you see Amari and Hampton go over Kyron Williams in this draft. And I'm not going to fault anybody at all for taking Amari and Hampton at the 3-4 turn here. So, like, we'll see where Najee goes in this. We'll see where Hampton goes in the other drafts that we do later tonight. But the report is Najee bound for the active NFI list. The GM said Wednesday that Harris will likely begin training camp on the active non-football injury list as doctors continue to monitor the eye injury that he suffered during the fireworks incident at the 4th of July event. Harris remains in the Bay Area as of Wednesday afternoon, but is expected to report to the Bolt in El Segundo, California later in the day. His agents called it superficial. Yeah, we'll see. But again, like we said, whenever that happened with Najee, that if you're the agent and knowing that like contracts can kind of get guarantees removed if the player gets injured doing something that's not football or team related, of course you're going to be trying to downplay it as much as you possibly can. We're going to go with Jaylen Warren. I know we've talked about this before, but if I have Trevion Henderson, I like grabbing a running back that could probably have a starting job at the beginning of the year, even if he loses it to a rookie later on. So like when I grab Trevion Henderson, I like taking Jaylen Warren late. If I draft Caleb Johnson, I like taking Ramondre Stevenson late. I just think it's going to be a natural pairing for us. So let's move this down. We have Dak, Fields, Caleb all off. One thing that we could have considered is instead of taking Ayuk there, just taking Kyler, because the team at 1 had Marvin. So we should have known that Kyler wasn't making it back to us at 103. I don't want to talk too much until we're on the clock. But right now we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Trevion Henderson, Jaylen Warren at running back. Wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Matthew Golden, Brandon Ayuk. And we have Trey McBride at tight ends. So here's what we're going to do. We are just going to say F the stack. Give me Drake May. Trevion Henderson will catch passes out of the backfield. Drake May has rushing upside. We can grab Kyle Williams later on if need be. We can also grab Hunter Henry later on if need be. So definitely not plan A. I think what we should have done here is I think we should have just taken Kyler at 90. But you live and you learn. That's why we get the $5 draft out of the way. That way when we hop in the higher stakes drafts afterwards, we hopefully can avoid making that same mistake. Mike flexing on us that he has 31% of Amari and Hampton. Black Suit says he can't wait for the Najee out for the season tweet. Hypothetically, let's go through a hypothetical world here. Of course, I'm not saying this is going to be the case. I'm not saying that this is the most likely case. I'm not saying any of that. But hypothetically, Najee Harris is reported out for the season. Would you rather have Amari and Hampton or Chase Brown? Please spam the chat. Amari and Hampton or Chase Brown. Andrew, welcome to being a mother flocker, my guy. I appreciate you, of course. Okay, McCarthy goes 124. Tucker Craft goes. We will take Jordan Love, pair him up with Matthew Golden. We're not going to get him on the way back around. Kind of got to go for it. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Hampton versus Chase Brown with Najee out for the year. We got Chase, Hampton, Chase, Hampton, Chase, Hampton, Chase. Looks like it's split. I mean, not split. I was expecting it to be split because that's immediately where I would go to rank Amari and Hampton. Najee Harris was out for the season. I'd put him at the 2-3 turn. Looks like a lot of people are on the Chase Brown side of that. But like in this hypothetical crazy world, if you had no Najee Harris at all and you wanted to draft Amari and Hampton at the end of the second round, I would not fault you for a second. Okay. Let's move this down. See what Zoes does. Goes with Isaac Grindo. Crazy athletic profile. If he were to be the starter in San Fran, he can obviously win leagues. Kyle Williams going right before us is absolutely brutal, right? We were hoping to get Kyle Williams to pair up with Drake May. Now that that does happen, I think we probably can't take a tight end here. We probably want to be looking at Hunter Henry if we can. So for that reason, we'll just take Ray Davis. I'm not the biggest Ray Davis guy. I did see an FSE video where they went through all the year 2 running backs and they talked about some reasons why to be excited about Ray Davis. I know Danny is big on him. Again, I don't necessarily think it's guaranteed. Like James Cook goes down, Ray Davis steps into a 3-down workload. So because I'm not operating under the assumption that Ray Davis is just the clear 1-for-1 handcuff, I'm not trying to go out of my way and draft them everywhere. But a team like this probably can't take the tight end, probably can't take Dallas Goedert, probably can't take, I was going to say Dalton Kincaid, but he went in the round prior. So I think we're just going to be stuck like taking a running back. Andrew says, if CMC goes down, do you think Garindo will get all the running back work, or do you think they'll probably split with Jordan James? I think the most likely outcome is Isaac Garindo gets the majority of the work in that backfield. But again, I would not be able to assign anything close to like a probability to that. Is that a 30%, 40%, 50%, 60% case? Because there's a world in which McCaffrey goes down and Jordan James is the starting running back, right? There's a world in which McCaffrey goes down. They trade for Travis Etienne. I think we'll take Leggett as our 6th receiver. Overall, I like the team. Quarterback's kind of whatever. We definitely need to be taking Hunter Henry later again, as we already mentioned. But right now we have Gibbs, Travion Henderson, Jalen Warren, Ray Davis at running back. Tight end, we have Trey McBride. Quarterback, we have May, as well as Travion Henderson. Not the best, but like I said, we'll look for Hunter Henry. We have Jordan Love paired up with Matthew Golden. And then wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Matthew Golden, Brandon Ayuk, and Xavier Leggett. So I like the team. Mighty Planet says, when does the draft guide drop? I think we're going to drop the draft guide at the beginning of August. I know we've been saying that for quite some time, but again, the main thing is every time I ask y'all on the live stream, when is your redraft? When is your main redraft league drafting? Every single time y'all have told me, oh, it starts, it's the last week of August, or oh, it's the first week of September. That's what 99.999% of people have told me. There hasn't been a single person who told me that they're doing their draft in July. So, and the draft guide I'm making is not going to be able to be used for like underdog drafts. The draft guide, okay, and the reason we took Leggett in the last round, by the way, is to set ourselves up with a Bryce Young pick in this one. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get sniped on Bryce Young, but if y'all watch this enough, y'all probably already knew that. But yeah, so the draft guide that we're making this year, because in the past, it used to be a PDF where you could just read a little blurb on every single player, right? Where you could just go through and you can do your research with it and you can look up like, oh, I want to know what Mason thinks about A.J. Brown this year. And you can look up A.J. Brown and you can read my little case on him. I'm going to try to make something more useful this year because I feel like we already put out so many videos that you don't really need to look up my like player by player takes. I feel like we talk about every guy and all the rankings videos that we put on the channel. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be tailoring it like to exactly your league. So there's going to be a draft guide if you play in an ESPN 12-team league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and it's PPR. It'll go, this is your guide. Here's the ESPN ADP. Here's the consensus ADP across all platforms. Here are my rankings. Here's that all averaged out to your big board for this draft. And then on top of that, here's a range of outcomes for the worst case, the median projection, and the best case. And then we'll have that all on those sheets where you can see them tiered off and you can actually take it to your draft. And as you're in your draft, you can cross guys off your big board as they go down. So yeah, we're not putting out the draft guide right now just because right now from my perspective is it seems like everybody does all their drafts either the last week of August or the first week of September for their main redraft leagues. And again, this isn't going to be, you can get the draft guide by signing up to Underdog with code FLOCK, but it's not going to be for Underdog. And we're going to take Damari Douglas. Damari Douglas, super easy pick when we have Drake May with none of his pass catchers so far. Like, also, Hunter Henry's off the board, so we're not going to be able to get Hunter Henry. So we're going to have to pivot over to Damari Douglas as our 7th receiver. And honestly, kind of an easy decision to do it as well. Okay. So let's move this down. And again, if you were wanting to know how you could get those draft guides, obviously they'll be available on flockfantasy.com for all site members. And then there will also be that deal that we talked about where if you deposit $10 on Underdog, if you are a first-time depositor on Underdog Fantasy in 2025, whether it was in May, April, yesterday, today, tomorrow, it doesn't matter. When the draft guide drops and gets updated every week, it will get sent to the email address you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with. Or if you're just a member of the site, then you can go ahead and just download it from there. And we'll just keep them updated. Okay, so now we're just going to look at running back, wide receiver, tight ends. I think we probably want to go ahead and take Mason Taylor here as our second tight end. Mason Taylor, decent prospect profile. Probably prefer Terrence Ferguson in Dynasty, but the thing about Mason Taylor for this year is this offense has Garrett Wilson, and that is it. So we'll run with it. Now, Bubba Trailer says, Mason, I'm going to Austin for the first time next week. Any spots you'd recommend? Ooh. If you're an outdoor person, my favorite place on this planet is Lady Bird Lake Trail. It's a nice little trail that goes around the river downtown. 10-mile loop exactly. Obviously, you can do a shorter thing if you're just going to walk it. You can see all the city, like see the skyline of the city as you do it. See the river. Super pretty. You'll probably see me running around it. I run around it every single day. And if you see me, wave. Go, hey, Mason. Hey. But if anybody else has any recommendations in Austin, drop them. I think, well, let me see if so I've been talking with a couple managers of places in Austin for the meetup. And no, they did not get. So there's one place I'm trying to finalize that I think would be really cool. I got a plan A place and a plan B place right now for us for the meetup. Again, the meetup's going to be in Austin, Texas, August 17th. If y'all want to come hang out with myself and everybody in the Flock League. Who do we want here? We'll take DJ Giddens. Great prospect profile. Behind Jonathan Taylor, not much as well. So I think he's a fine pick. And then we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Trevion Henderson, Jalen Warren, Ray Davis, DJ Giddens. Wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Matthew Golden, wide receiver 4, Ayuk, wide receiver 5, Leggett, wide receiver 6, Damari Douglas, wide receiver 7. We probably need to go with another receiver here in such a large field tournament. Okay. Nate says, did the Flock League pay for a Coach JB cameo? LOL, saw it on his show today. I have no idea what you're talking about. Genuine, let me know. Let me look this up. Coach JB. Oh, Jason Brown? From Last Chance U? Did the coach from Last Chance U say something about the Flock League? We need to get this dude in the Flock League. Last Chance U, Jason Brown. Okay. Wide receiver, we will take Jalen Tolbert here because your boy doesn't have a brain. And I like the team. I think we did a good job with it. Quarterback, May stacked with Douglas. Love stacked with Golden. Bryce stacked with Leggett. Running back, we have Gibbs, Trevion Henderson, Jalen Warren, Ray Davis, and DJ Giddens. Tight end, we have Trey McBride as well as Mason Taylor. Receiver, A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, Matthew Golden, Ayuk, Leggett, Douglas, and Tolbert. Love it. Now let's move over and let's hop into BBM. And of course, freaking location is not being shared on Safari at the moment. Again, we showed the map of the states that Underdog is in. Underdog has to confirm your location that you're in one of those states for you to hop in this draft. I'm in Texas, so I'm in one of those states. I just joined on my phone. I'll pull it up on my computer. There are a couple spots open in the lobby if anybody wanted to get in with us. I, again, apologize for the juke, but we are in. Okay. And we get pick 5, so we will get one of those top 6 names. I don't want to say exactly who we're going to take. We're right next to Bo, Draco, Kale, and Vinny. Oh, my gosh. Look at this. Draco at 6, Kale at 7, Vinny at 8. Dojgran's always in these drafts with us as well at 11. Maxwell in here with us at 9. Corrigan in this draft with us at 12. Quincy in at 3. And let's see. Nate says he did the draft order for the Flock Fantasy League, unless there's a second Flock Fantasy League. I did not do anything. Did he say any of our names? I'm sorry. Probably shouldn't be spending so much time on this, but I just think this is hilarious. Okay. Matthew says, have you done any DK basketball drafts this year? Those guys do not know what they're doing. Love Underdog's interface a lot better, though, so it's tough. Come on. Look at the shirt. You're going to act like I'm not the most brand loyal guy you will ever meet in your entire life? Of course I would never. We will take Justin Jefferson here at 5. I thought we were going to be deciding between CeeDee Lamb and Jahmyr Gibbs, but getting Jefferson at 5 is actually possibly going to give us a unique combo in this tournament if we can get a player fall to us at 20. So it's going to take a fall, but because we have Jefferson at 5 again, this can be exciting. Nate says, I'll find the time. Yeah, if you can find that timestamp and send it to me, that'd be great. Michael is in this draft with us at 1. Slajl is in this draft with us at 10. So yeah, this is basically a flock draft. Thank you for everybody joining this with us. And Michael says, why did the Flock League pay $35,000 for a coach? Is his cameo $35,000 or something? There's no way. Okay. Rad says, what's the best draft to hop in as a casual? Do not hop in a Best Ball Mania. The best draft to hop in as a casual is the $5 puppy draft. I think the average drafter on Underdog come August or even right now, you can tell every channel starting to put out redraft content again. The average drafter is somebody that's going to hop in and draft 5 teams and then be done. Just get in some extra drafts, have some fun, mainly practice for their main redraft league. And if you're just going to hop on, draft 5 teams, you need to do that in the puppy too. Because then if you have $25 on Underdog, you can get in 5 drafts. Again, if you like it a lot, then you can hop in some more after that. But I would just start there and see what you think. Okay. Black Suit says, DK's best ball sucks because if you make it out of group, it's all super teams in the playoffs. I'm so brand loyal. If you're saying that it 1 out of 12 advance, I wouldn't even know that, to be honest with you. Okay, so Bowers goes. We are going to be boring. We'll take Jonathan Taylor. Super flat tier after Bowers. You can take Taylor or any of the next 8 guys in ADP. Like, not exciting at all. There'll be a lot of Jefferson, Taylor teams. I wasn't drafting a lot of Jonathan Taylor early in the offseason. Like, I'm probably still underweight Jonathan Taylor, to be honest, because back then we were opting to instead go with Bucky Irving. But realistically, if you don't have Anthony Richardson as the starter here, and instead, if it is Daniel Jones, like, Jonathan Taylor is probably the better play. You go back, look at these running backs last year. Jonathan Taylor was second in the NFL in snaps, or at least snap percentage. He was first in the NFL in rushing attempts per game, third in the NFL in rushing yards per game, fourth in the NFL in rushing attempts inside the 5-yard line. Bucky Irving, a much higher utilization rate as a receiver. You can also say with Bucky, it's not fair to look at his entire 2024 season, so maybe you only want to look at the final portion of his rookie year. But even in that case, Jonathan Taylor still does slightly out-edge him. And obviously, if we did that same thing with Taylor, Taylor would blow him out of the water because the final 3 weeks. But Bucky loses the left tackle for the beginning of the season. Jonathan Taylor looks like he'll have Daniel Jones, who'll have a higher checkdown rate than Anthony Richardson would, and probably the Colts would just score more points. And Daniel Jones would steal fewer rushing touchdowns. So I think Jonathan Taylor is probably the better play here. Power Branch says, dumb question. Sign up on your Underdog. How do I get the draft sheet again? I know, dumb question. Not a dumb question at all, because it's probably not the most intuitive thing. Since the draft guide cheat sheet is, and we'll just take Josh Jacobs. Since the draft guide cheat sheet's not done yet, you just don't have it yet. Your email is already sent to me. So what I am essentially going to do is all the Underdog sends me an email list of like all the email addresses for the people who've signed up with our code in 2025. As you can tell, you've never gotten an email from me, so I'm not spamming you with like sales stuff. The only purpose of it is once the draft guide's complete at the beginning of August, I'll upload all those emails on MailChimp and I will put the draft guides in the little thing. This is what I did last year. And then every Sunday I would send out the updated email with all the things. You can unsubscribe if you don't want the updates, if you don't care about the draft guide. But so you have to do nothing other than check your email. And obviously I'll be saying it in the live stream once we are done with the draft guides and they are sent out. Tiger says Von Miller to the Commanders. How old is Von Miller? Von Miller age. Okay, maybe I'm too much of a simpleton. Maybe I'm too much of a casual. But I see Von Miller 36 years old and go, I don't know how much that matters. And I would never sit here and try to pretend that I'm some defensive expert. I mean, he had 6 sacks last year. 17 total. 6 sacks in only 13 games. Not bad. Yeah. Von Miller back in the day, obviously, very, very big deal. Do we want Metcalf or do we want Worthy? I'm going to take Worthy. Here's the setup. 2 teams after us has Rashee Rice. So realistically, if they want Mahomes, they have to reach on him and take him at 75. If not, there's a good shot we get Mahomes on the way back around at 92 and we box out the Rashee Rice team. Plus, y'all know I'm a fan of Xavier Worthy in this range. I need to be giving us options for quarterbacks. I think I could very easily make an argument for Devonta Smith, but the issue is Jalen Hurts is already off the board. And we go Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs at running back, so our quarterback options are possibly going to be limited later in this draft. So I kind of want to just get Xavier Worthy and open the door for us to get Mahomes. Okay. Bagel, I appreciate you. Obviously, I appreciate you hopping a draft with me. Yeah. Nate says 153.31 from his live stream today. Okay, I'm pulling this up. Maybe one of the people in the Flock League, like maybe, honestly, if The thing is, none of us have ever talked about Coach JB from Last Chance U. I don't know if they have ever seen Last Chance U. I may be the only one in the Flock League that's even seen it. Okay. Oh, he's doing the show with the other coach from Last Chance U? Because this was like the defensive coordinator or something, right? Waddle goes, I would probably prefer to take a receiver here, but there aren't any clear wide receivers that I would want. So we're just going to take Kenneth Walker, and we're going to be playing catch up at wide receiver in the next 2 rounds. Like 3 running backs inside the first 5 rounds. Even though we have Jefferson and Worthy, and I like the 2 receivers, we definitely need more firepower at the wide receiver position.
This is a fantasy draft shit. I hate the fantasy shit. They're using EA Sports and they want a cameo from it. Fuck them. You do one loud cameo, please? Just do one real quick.
Okay. I'm watching it.
It's still kind of funny last time. The Fantasy Flock League. Yeah, it's the real Coach JB, man. Listen, man, I'm on my show live doing this fucking cameo for you fucking shitbird nobodies. And Grins wants me to reach out to the Flock Fantasy League.
Yeah, he's saying Flock Fantasy League. I don't know if I can hear this.
Fantasy League. Like, I give a fuck what you do. Number 1. Number 2, you want me to select your fucking order. Shocker. What a fucking new fucking cameo request.
I'm sorry, I got to watch this right now. I don't want to wait for it.
I'm going to start at 10 and I'm going to go to 1. All right? So, let's start at 10. I'm going to start with Jaron. Apparently.
Okay. He said he's going to start picking. It's a 10-team league. And at 10, he did Jaron. There's no Jaron in our league. So, guess there's another Flock Fantasy League out there. Rivaling ours, I'll say. Interesting. So, Olave off the board at 66. Y'all know Burrow's not going to be in play for us. Debo goes. I would prefer RJ Harvey over Jerry Jeudy for sure. The issue is we went Kenneth Walker in the last round. So, because we go Kenneth Walker in the last round, we are now put in a position where in this round, we are just going to have to go ahead. We're going to have to take Jerry Jeudy. I think Judy's upside is going to be severely capped given the offense that he's playing in. Again, we look at the historical data and it shows that we've never had a wide receiver finish as a top 6 option in a bottom 5 offense in total points scored. We've only had like 3 wide receivers over the past 21 years. That's like 3 receivers at 105 finishes like a top 12 option. So like realistically, half PPR format is probably not in the range of outcomes. It's not a possibility for Jerry Jeudy to be a top 12 receiver unless, and again, this is a big unless, the Cleveland Browns aren't a bottom 5 offense. So if you think the Browns surprise to the upside, then for sure you can go ahead and you can take Jerry Jeudy with confidence. But my thing is, I think the ceiling is going to be capped. Decent floor because he's a talented player, had a lot of volume last year and should have a lot of volume this year. So like when we just desperately need wide receiver targets, we only have 2 receivers through the first 5 rounds in an underdog draft, sure, I'll take Jerry Jeudy here. But if you're like in a 10-team league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and you need to be shooting for the highest ceiling possible, I don't know if Judy's your pick. Jacoby Myers off the board. I want to get a receiver that we can take their quarterback later. I don't think DeAndre Swift's our play. We're going to go with Stephon Diggs. So here's the play with Mahomes. Realistically, the vast majority of the time that Mahomes goes in round 7, it's because a team with Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy feels they need to take him there. If this team at 3 wanted Mahomes, they would have had to take him at 75 to keep him away from us where we have Worthy. So what we are going to do is we're going to try to turn $25 into $2 million. I'm not going to try to turn $25 into $50. If I wanted to play it safe, I would go ahead and I would just take Patrick Mahomes here at 77. But I'm trying to win this tournament. So we're going to see if we can get Mahomes slide to 92, which wouldn't be a big fall whatsoever. Happens all the time to us. And I think we can because Rashee Rice is on the other side of the board. And we're the Xavier Worthy team. So it's not a guarantee. No, I'm not going to crash out if Patrick Mahomes goes right ahead of us. We took Stephon Diggs, so we have the optionality of a different quarterback later on with Drake May. Because in reality, I may prefer Khalil Shakir straight up over Stephon Diggs. But Josh Allen's already off the board, so we're going to pass on Shakir. Okay. Braden says, signed up with Code Flock the other day. Got my brother too today. Appreciate you, my friend. Let me know if you hop in a puppy draft and let me know what your experience is in it and how you like it. Okay. And also, I don't know if y'all saw the Shane Gillis clips from him at the ESPYs, but they were hilarious. And let me flex on y'all real quick. Let me go to my Instagram. This is from way back in the day. And we get Patrick Mahomes. We rolled those dice. It works out for the first time ever. Not really, but it does seem like over the past few nights, y'all have been sniping me on Mahomes in this scenario. So happy that it finally worked out. Let me try to find. Okay, this is when I lived in Tampa. That's when we went there. Okay, this is it, right? So, seeing our guy, Shane. This is from back in the day, Mason Dodd Instagram. When I was a young spry chicken. We've been able to see Matt and Shane in person a ton. So, I will flex. We got the picks to prove that we've been fans for years and years and years. So Purdy off the board at 96. Let's move this down. And like wide receiver would still be nice for us when we have Jefferson, Worthy, Judy, Diggs. It's not like a need. It's not like we don't get a wide receiver here and we're screwed. And realistically, looking at the receivers, like it's a Shaheed and Trey Harris. So am I going to take a wide receiver at pick 101? More likely than not, no, I will not. Okay, Kelsey goes 99. I was probably going to take Kelsey. Now that Kelsey's off the board, I think we pivot over to our running back. Between Jalen Warren, Travis Etienne, I think we go Etienne. Again, I like taking Jalen Warren in the instance you have like Travion Henderson, as we discussed previously, where it's like, oh, okay, we don't necessarily need to think too much about long-term upside here. We just need somebody to score points for us right now. Sure, we'll go ahead and we'll take Ward in that instance, but like I would rather just swing on the ceiling of Travis Etienne being the starting running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars all 17 weeks. Like we already have a very high floor at running back with Taylor Jacobs, Kenneth Walker. So we'll go for it. Mike says, do you think early/robust RB is the move this year, Mason? Depends on how you define robust RB. If you think you want to be taking the first 3 picks of your draft running backs in an underdog draft, probably not ideal. Now, in your regular redraft league, if you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, by all means, if you want to take 3 running backs out the gate, you do you. You'll see when we send out those draft guides that if you're in like a 10-team ESPN league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, the running backs are going to be way higher in my rankings and the wide receivers are going to be way lower. Dak goes, we're going to take Drake May to pair him up with Stephon Diggs. Again, I think wide receiver would be nice, but am I that excited to take Bateman, Luther Burden, Christian Kirk? Probably not. And if we go Drake May here alongside Patrick Mahomes, we can stop at 3 quarterbacks. I'm sorry, we can stop at 2 quarterbacks. Obviously, we can always stop at 3. But we put ourselves in a situation where if we get a nice little faller at the quarterback position for us late, then sure, we won't stop ourselves from drafting the 3rd. But also at the same time, we can very easily stop at 2. Okay. Dylan, happy to see you. And Adam says, a bunch of people watching and a bunch of likes. That's throwing hard. Click the button and stack that total wall. Reality, I just appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And I know we don't need $250 for another. I mean, $250, 250 likes for another draft. We're gonna get another draft no matter what. And again, like the main thing is if you do hit the like button, immediately $10 is taken from your bank account and put into mine. So I don't want to do that for too many of y'all. You can keep your $10. Okay. We are looking at a plan A here. I got a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is gone. Plan B is still available, and we probably get plan B making it to us. A plan B does make it to us. That's going to be Christian Kirk. We are just desperate for wide receiver points. Christian Kirk's like the perfect example of somebody that I would never take in like the flock league in a regular redraft format where I have access to the waiver wire, because frankly, Christian Kirk is probably similar to wide receivers you could just pick up off waivers, right? Now, the issue with this is we don't have the waiver wire on Underdog. These wide receivers that give you a high floor, that are going to be out on the field a lot, going to run a decent amount of routes with a good quarterback. Like, this is somebody that matters in best ball where you don't have the waiver wire. Whereas in your regular redraft league, probably you're better off just taking Tajee Spears, Javonte, Najee Harris, and hoping that they hit their top 1 percentile outcome. Because like the best case scenario for Christian Kirk, maybe not the best case scenario, but like 5th percentile outcome for him, where we play this season 20 times and his best year probably has him as like a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 in fantasy. There's no shot in hell that he turns out to be a top 5 receiver. Not even if Nico Collins gets injured and CJ Stroud goes back to his rookie season. So, best ball pick, not necessarily a regular redraft pick. And the question is, if CJ Stroud makes it to us at 140, do we take him? Vinny takes CJ Stroud instead. Vinny didn't. I mean, he had Nico Collins, so yeah, 100%. I would have done the same if I were him. So at this point, I don't want to say, okay, thank God. Running back's not a big priority for us. Tight end is. So I definitely wanted Dallas Goedert rather than Ray Davis. So getting Dallas Goedert at 140, I think, is a solid pick. So overall, I love our team. Quarterback, we have Mahomes paired with Worthy. We have Diggs paired. We have May paired with Diggs. Running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne. So a great running back room. Wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Worthy, Judy, Diggs, and then Kirk. An okay, serviceable wide receiver room. And then tight end, we have Dallas Goedert. Also an okay play in my mind. Okay. Kyle says, Kirk isn't the leading slot guy right now. Jaden Higgins was performing in camp. I'd imagine Higgins plays on the outside. Kirk plays in the slot. But even if that's not the case, if you say that Jaden Higgins is the slot guy, that what? Christian Kirk's in 2 wide receiver sets? Okay. Cam Ward goes 145. Garindo 146. So it's not like we're getting any big quarterback fallers at this point. I got our plan A and I got our plan B. Plan C, not so much. Plan C, we panic. Hopefully a quarterback goes at this pick or the next one. Quarterback off the board, we're going to get one of our 2 guys. Cedric Tillman was plan A. We were hoping to get Tillman as our wide receiver 6, pair him up with Jerry Jeudy and go, what if the Browns aren't a bottom 5 offense? Our plan B is Trey Benson, and the Trey Benson pick means we are no longer allowed to take running backs. This is maybe the best running back room I've drafted all year on Underdog. I know that sounds crazy, but y'all know I draft some pretty bad teams. We have Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, and Trey Benson. And we are done taking RBs. Khan says, a guy in my draft just got his first running back in round 12. Oh, that's a beautiful thing to see. I love it when I'm in a draft with somebody like that, because how Underdog makes their money here, obviously they're not running a charity, right? Is they take a percentage from the league pot. And you can see in every tournament that you open up, like in the little details section, what percentage rake that they take. So here in Best Ball Mania, they take a 10.8% rake. So they guarantee that there'll be $15 million of prizes, but they're actually probably like $16 million of dues, right? If this tournament fills completely. Now, the thing is, if it only filled halfway and there are only $8 million of dues paid, Underdog has to pay the additional $7 million out of their own pocket into the prize pool, which would be a thing of beauty for anybody drafting in the tournament. It'd be horrible for Underdog. But yeah, it's not a charity. They take a 10% rake from the pot. So if you're in a draft with somebody who doesn't take their first running back until round 12, they're just paying the rake. They're just paying that 10% for you. So you don't have to worry about it. You can effectively draft for free. Lee says they always take 10 to 11%. I think that's true with the smaller buy-ins, where it's kind of always hovering around that like 10.8%. I think with the bigger buy-ins, it's maybe a little bit less. I know in years past for the big dog tournaments, it's been less than 10%. Jack Besh has been the falling knife in all drafts as of late. Nobody wants the dude. Apparently, he's just a backup to Jacoby Myers, blah, blah, blah. Thornton's going to be the guy in 2 wide receiver sets. Jack Besh is practicing with the backups in July. But round 2 NFL draft capital, better prospect than Thornton. So we'll take him. We just are desperate for a wide receiver. Let me see if the big dog, let me see what the rake is on the big dog. Like I said, I know in the past it was single digits. Yeah. The rake for the big dog this year is 7.4%. So it's like, if you're in like a $5 draft, and sometimes they do the rake free drafts. Like last year they did a bunch of the 0% rake drafts. I think those were the Pomeranian $3 ones they did before the season. So it's not ever, it's not always 10 to 11%. If you look at it, I think that's the most I've ever seen in Underdog drafts. And typically that's what it is for the lower buy-ins. But if you actually look at the info, in reality, sometimes there are 0% rate tournaments, which I will let you know when those are live. I don't even know if they're doing them this year. They did like last August. And then we're going to take Damari Douglas. We need a receiver, and we have Drake May. Super easy pick. Don't have to think about it. And then, like I said, the high stakes drafts have lower rake as well. And also, I don't know if y'all saw, but Alan says you can scam people in Superflex drafts if you know what you're doing. So many values because some quarterbacks get overvalued so much. So if you know what you're doing, Underdog did drop the Superflex drafts. They just dropped a $5 Superflex today. The German Shepherd, but Superflex. Already over 5,000 drafts in this tournament today, but I have played in Dynasty Superflex leagues since I think my first Dynasty League was like 2016-ish. I mean, not my first Dynasty League was 2014. So my first Dynasty Superflex was 2017-ish, I think. However, Superflex Best Ball's a different beast. And every time I enter in one of those drafts, I feel completely lost. So I stick to the one quarterback drafts myself. But from what I've heard from the people that are actually good at drafting, is that if you know what you're doing, you should be in the Superflex drafts. because people don't know what's going on there. So if we really, really wanted to, we could go with a third quarterback. We don't have to, but we could. What we for sure need to do is we for sure need to take 2 more tight ends. So I'm going to take Mason Taylor to pair up with Dallas Goedert as our second tight end. Now, if we end up getting Aaron Rodgers making it to us in the next round, maybe I consider Rodgers. But there are a couple teams after us that only have 2 quarterbacks. This team has Kyler and Jordan Love, so they're kind of in the same boat with us, almost identical cost to our Mahomes and May. We'll see if they take Rodgers. And then this team, as well as Burrow and Bryce Young. So it'll be interesting to see if they go with the third quarterback. Troy says, can you roast my team? Let me know where you're picking from, my friend. Oh, Troy, I see you at 4. So Fields, Geno, Darnold at quarterback. McCaffrey, Bucky. I love the RJ Harvey pick. And I love pairing Ramondre with him. Njoku, likely at tight end. Receiver, Terry, DJ Moore, Waddle. Jacoby, Kupp. I like your team a lot. Cedric Tillman, Deontay. Yeah, I like your team a lot. I can't say anything bad about it, realistically. Jacob says, I did 5 Superflex drafts because it's all Underdog had when I downloaded it. It made regular drafts feel easy. The Superflex drafts are tough. Like I said, whenever I hop in a Superflex draft, I feel lost. Rodgers does indeed go, which is probably good for us. That's to the team that had Kyler Love. I probably need an 8th receiver on this build. So, like, I was considering Rodgers here in round 17, but I think it was probably for the best we didn't get him. And we'll go with Chig as our 3rd tight end, and then we'll just queue up some wide receivers for our 8th receiver. We'll take Hopkins if he makes it. If Hopkins doesn't make it, we can look at Adonai. Obviously, Tolbert, I look at a decent amount. I know people want Franklin for a week 17 bring back. I did not mean MVS. I meant Tolbert. We'll put him near the top. So those are really the guys that we have queued up. And we will, just in case people snipe us on our guys, just guarantee us that we're getting a round 18 receiver. Okay. But I like the team. We will go ahead, hop into another Best Ball Mania draft. I showed this previously, but my Safari was blocking my location, so I'm going to have to do this on my phone. Give me 1 second. We are going to get into another BBM, and I just hit enter now. Kyle says, what's your take on Amari? I was drafting Amari a decent amount early in the year, or early in the offseason, that is. Like back in April and May, and even the beginning of June, I was drafting a lot of Amari. But I don't know. Every day that goes by and he hasn't signed, I get a little bit more nervous. So I have not been drafting Amari as much as I was. Just because, again, unless y'all have a better read on the situation, it's scary. Every day that goes by and he's not on a team. So Dylan, the FSC video did not change my opinion on anything. You know I love FSC, but did not change my opinion. So we are in this draft, and we have to go up against Kale, who's in literally every single draft with us. Vinny, who used to be in every single draft with us until we found a way to hack into his computer, block him from joining some of these. We got Blaze, longtime member of the flock, in at 12. Draco's in a lot of these now with us at 11. Seems like B Pat at 10 I've seen a decent amount of times now. But let me know if there's anybody else that I'm missing in this draft that would be in this stream. Lee says, I'm too shook to draft any team list players right now, though. Yeah. Like, realistically, I think Amari is a lot more interesting than a lot of around 18 receivers, but I'm not good. Like, I've drafted enough of them. Where if he ends up signing to somewhere great, cool. But if not, I don't want to just have my entire season crumbled because I bet on freaking Amari Cooper. Oh, interesting that McCaffrey's flipped Puka. Y'all know we've been drafting McCaffrey at 7 for a very, very long time. So McCaffrey is, from a dollar spent perspective, especially because I've taken him in a couple $500 drafts, McCaffrey's one of my most invested into running backs. I'm sorting my entry fees on Underdog. McCaffrey is my 4th most invested into running back. Trey Benson's my number 1 at this point. For the love of God, somebody save me. If McCaffrey ends up, like, what was his ADP? 7.6? Okay, so it's still not inside the top 6. But if McCaffrey ends up as the 7th player in consensus and sometimes slides inside the top 6, we will definitely end up drafting a lot less of him than we have been, just because it used to be more common for you, obviously, to get McCaffrey at the 1-2 turn. Bland says Niners schedule is Mickey Mouse. 100% one of the many reasons we've been drafting a lot of McCaffrey. I don't want Henry. I would rather have Vlad. Let me just think. Yeah, we're going to take Vlad. I'll take Derrick Henry if I can get him with like one of the top 6 players, Gibbs, Lamb, Jefferson, etc., etc. Now, looking at the pick and projections on Underdog, this would tell me it's a very bad decision to be passing on Derrick Henry here. Derrick Henry at the moment on Underdog is higher, lower, 1,300 rushing yards. Higher, lower, 13.5 rushing TDs. Higher, lower, 5.5 games of 100+ rushing yards. Let me see. How many games did he have with that many rushing yards last year? Let's change this to 2025 ranks. Derrick Henry. Last year, games with 100+ rushing yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games with 100 rushing yards during the regular season last year. Underdog has them at 5.5 this year. So they are projecting in some regression, but they're still projecting to score a hell of a lot more points than Ladd McConkey. So Alan says, do you think over the long term drafting with your viewers could lower your advancement rates? So I've said this before, but to just be completely honest with y'all. So obviously, like, you look at our track record of our advancement rates, of us winning tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. It's arrogant to say, but I do think we have a large enough sample to show, like, I'm one of the very few, like, public profitable drafters. Let me look. We're fine taking Josh Allen because we took Ladd McConkey, so we're not just completely behind at wide receiver. So, like, well, yes, I have been a profitable drafter to a decent degree over the 3 years of us drafting in Underdog tournaments. Realistically, if me drafting with people on a live stream lowers my advancement rate by 1%, the amount of money that I will make in just YouTube ads alone will be much higher than that 1% dip, right? Say whatever I would make on Underdog this next year, if it was 1% less because I drafted with y'all in the live stream instead of just focusing by myself, live, the camera turned off, yada, 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 and just drafting on my computer, it'd be more profitable for me to turn on the camera and stream it, even if it means we get sniped occasionally, even if it means I'm a little more distracted than I usually would be. So frankly, it doesn't matter for me to decide like, oh, would I be better? Would I be worse if I wasn't streaming it? Okay. Kyron Williams is an auto pick. Now this is going to be a very, very tough spot. Only one receiver through the first 4 rounds. Thank God we took Ladd McConkey rather than Derrick Henry. Getting Kyron Williams at pick 41 again is an auto pick for me. So let's do it. But looking back, again, like the mental exercise of like, would I be better or worse by 5% in these drafts for me live streaming versus not and drafting with y'all? It frankly doesn't matter, because like for my business, the being on YouTube is more profitable than 5% of my Underdog winnings is going to be. Like, even if we won $1 million in Underdog this year, us being on YouTube's worth more than 5% of that, if that makes sense. Luke says, Teresa says, I did drafts last week, Mason, first time ever. It was awesome. How was I? Yeah, I know you said you were going to be in Florida. How was it? Where'd you go? But happy to hear that, Teresa. And what tournament did you hop in? What tournaments were you able to hop in any of the $1 drafts? Because I know when I was in Florida, they put out the $1 drafts. Braden says, do you do many slow drafts? Yes, I do slow $500 drafts because I want to do a decent amount of $500 drafts this year, and I can't fill them all in like the live stream. I can maybe only like fill 10 in a live stream, and I want to do more than 10. So we do some slow $500 drafts. And then also like the weird tournaments, the sprint, we do slows. Like the sprint is like Best Ball Mania, but instead of it being advanced like week 15, then you advance to week 16, then you advance to week 17. It's like you all get thrown into a massive pool, and it's just cumulative scores weeks 15 through 17, but it's still, we have to take a wide receiver here no matter what. It doesn't matter if Kenneth Walker would have fallen and it was Travis Hunter versus Kenneth Walker. I mean, we have to go Travis Hunter. We have no option. We only have Ladd McConkey receiver. So like those other tournaments, like we advanced 41 sprint teams last year, which I keep saying this and I'll keep saying it until somebody proves me otherwise. I think it was more than anybody else on all of Underdog last season, not just people who live stream or make videos. And we did the majority of those off the live stream in slow drafts, just because kind of the same thing. It's harder to fill. It was harder to fill that last year in drafts because it was like a $50 buy-in in a new tournament that people weren't that interested in. And same thing. So like we're going to probably max out the sprint again this year. I'll do a lot of those in slows, the vast majority of them. I'm going to max out the eliminator with slows. I said I was going to max out weekly winners with slows, and then I did like 20 of them and went, I hate this. I'm not doing any more. So, and then outside of that, that's all the slows I do. BBM, I'm not going to do any slows. I'm just going to do them on stream. Like puppy drafts, I'm not doing any slows. So it's just those high stakes drafts that are harder to fill on a live stream than me just hopping in a slow draft. And if you don't know what a slow draft is on Underdog, it's the 8-hour per pick lobby. I'm going to take Jordan Addison as our wide receiver 3, and we're going to set up a prayer that he doesn't get suspended. But he probably will. And if he does get suspended, it's probably going to look like 3 games. But we just are going to have to continue to play catch-up receiver, right? It doesn't matter if I like Trevion Henderson in this round. But yeah, so in like the more unique Underdog tournaments, we do slow drafts. And then in some of the higher stakes Underdog tournaments, we do slow drafts. I try to stream as many as I can. I try to do as few off the live stream as I possibly can. But again, it's really hard to fill like a $500 draft on a stream, as opposed to like people will hop in the 8-hour clock on Underdog. Teresa says, I did 25 puppy 2s and 15 BBMs. I did great. Super happy to hear that. And of course, I'm wishing you the best of luck. Okay. Dr. Goose is Mason. The clan needs you. We are falling apart without our supreme. I re-downloaded Clash. I've never been a clan leader on Clash, and I have no idea what I need to do. So if anybody wants to let me know exactly what I'm supposed to do for our clan, tell me, and I will do it. But for now, I don't really know what to do. It says I need to add a defense. I just added 4 cards to that. My highest level cards. Okay, so DeAndre Swift off the board at pick 76. Hawkinson goes 77. I know I already said this, but just to reiterate myself. Our 3 receivers so far through the first 6 rounds are Ladd McConkey, Travis Hunter, Jordan Addison. We need wide receiver. And we will take Khalil Shakir here relatively easily. Khalil Shakir is kind of one of my favorite wide receivers in this range, given the way that the Bills project out this season. And at the same time, we have Josh Allen. So we are already making a bet that the Buffalo Bills are a top 3 scoring offense in the NFL this year. That's the only way this team turns $25 into $2 million. So might as well double down on that bet with the Khalil Shakir selection. Okay. Mark says, do you mind explaining why stacking quarterbacks is so important? So we've talked about this before, and we've showed the math with it before, but to just keep it stupid simple, we're trying to turn $25 into $2 million in this draft, right? So as many of our picks that we can get right as possible is a good thing. In your regular draft where you're going up against only 11 people, you can afford to get some picks wrong. You can afford to miss some. You can afford to miss a lot more than you can in a tournament of this size. So if we know that we need to be hitting on as many picks as possible, and I took Josh Allen in round 3, Aaron Jones goes, I'm going to take Igbuka. We're still playing catch-up receiver. But say, I know I need to hit on as many picks as possible, and I take Josh Allen in round 3. With that Josh Allen pick, if it hits for us to win this tournament, which it kind of needs to, it means Khalil Shakir is more likely to hit as well. So if I took Darnell Mooney instead of Khalil Shakir here, I have to hit on Josh Allen in round 3. And then completely unrelated, I also have to hit on Darnell Mooney. Whereas if I hit on Josh Allen in round 3, it probably means Khalil Shakir hits as well. So by taking both of them together, I have to hit on one thing happening rather than having to hit on 2 things happening. I mean, that's kind of a dumbed down way to view it, but I think it's a reasonable explanation. There's also math behind it that we've showed in videos. But I think we've done an okay job building back our wide receiver core. We have Ladd McConkey, Travis Hunter, Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, and Igbuka. If there was going to be an issue with our wide receiver room, it's the production at the beginning of the season. So, Jordan Addison may be suspended. And then we have 2 rookie wide receivers. And obviously, when we're looking at wide receiver production, we're kind of banking on the upside that we get in the second half of the year, which is very important in best ball to optimize for weeks 15 through 17 to the best of our ability. But at the same time, we do need to have some ability to score points at the beginning of the season. Caleb Williams goes 102. Let's see what Vinny does. Vinny, interesting team, goes Judkins. We will take Keon Coleman again. We made that one concentrated bet on the Buffalo Bills being a top 3 scoring offense in the NFL. If that happens, Keon Coleman is more likely to return on value in comparison to the other wide receivers in this range. So we will take Keon. We'll have him double stacked with Khalil Shakir. And I was honestly going to take Judkins if Vinny decided to pass on him, but maybe good for us to not have Judkins on this team because, again, as we discussed, the biggest issue with our squad is going to be scoring points at the beginning of the year. Andrew says, how many drafts do I need for a badge? This is my first year drafting on Underdog, and I'm at about 60 drafts so far. To have a white and black draft, you have to have 500. I mean, a white and black badge. A red and black badge, you have to have 1,000. So you are quite far away from a badge, my friend. But that is completely fine, of course. Let's see. Dak Prescott's not going to be in play for us. You can go Dak Prescott and then Jake Ferguson later, but it's not nearly important enough for us to do. And then again, this team, I'd be surprised if they go with the running back. They already have 4. Maybe they do. Like, are they going to take Luther Burden instead? They go Dobbins. Dobbins is who we wanted. I'm going to go Sharp. I think you make a strong argument to go Cam Scattaboo over him. Again, we are so focused on back half production so far with our team, with Igbuka, with Addison, with Hunter, that I don't know if we want to continue to stack those profiles with additional rookies over the next few rounds. So we'll take Charbonnet. I thought J.K. Dobbins would have been a natural fit for our roster. We don't get him, but it is what it is. Dr. Goose says, what does the G mean on someone's helmet in the draft? I've only seen it a few times. So let me pull up my Underdog profile and just see. So you can see, like, because you obviously can go and change your own profile picture on Underdog. I'll be rocking with this profile pic till the day I die. Let's see. I don't know. I can't even see. Does anybody know what that little G thing means with the Underdog? Thing like on the, I don't even know if it's a G. I think it's like I remember seeing something. It's like a conch shell or something. K11 Flight Right says means they got first place in a contest. I've gotten first place in multiple contests and I don't have it. So I don't think that's what it means. Loveland goes 126. We will take David Njoku here. Y'all know I absolutely love Tyler Warren. But again, I think if we have an issue with our team, it's we are lacking production at the beginning of the season. So I'll use that as a tiebreaker to go with Njoku over Tyler Warren. Ben Fide says, hey, Mason, is it crazy to go HN London in BBM from the 8th spot? I don't think so, especially knowing that both players were like second-round picks pretty much all offseason. I think it'd be a pretty unique combo. Love Star says they are horns in its first place. Oh, okay. That's what it is again. So if you look at the, like there are goat horns that you'll occasionally see people with. And that means they want a battle royale draft, which is like a weekly draft on Underdog, more like DFS style. But I think there are some dogs that for whatever reason they can't fit the horns on. So they put a G on it instead. They put like a G on the dog. We will... do we want Kincaid or do we want Tootin? I think we go Tootin. No, we're going to go Kincaid. We are all in on the Buffalo Bills passing offense this year. Hopefully James Cook doesn't have 16 rushing touchdowns. Hopefully the Bills don't lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns by like 4. And we have more Josh Allen dropbacks in the red zone and the passing volumes up dramatically across the offense. So that's what we're looking at here. Okay, Dallas Goedert goes 142. Tillman off 143. We need a second quarterback. And looking at the quarterbacks that we're going to have available to us, we maybe cooked ourselves. I maybe got so excited that we had drafted Josh Allen that I determined we didn't need a quarterback for the rest of this draft. Dewan says, when do you know when you should stop taking a certain position? So it's going to be flexible on where you invested into those players in the draft. A general rule of thumb is you're going to draft 2 to 3 quarterbacks in every draft. You're going to draft 4 to 7 running backs in every draft. You're going to draft 2 to 3 tight ends in every draft. And the rest of your slots are going to be wide receiver. If you take like Bowers or McBride, you should probably only draft 2 tight ends. If you draft Josh Allen, you probably should only draft 2 quarterbacks. We will take Kyle Pitts. We'll take Michael Penix and hope we get Kyle Pitts on the way back. But that is far from a guarantee here. If we don't get Michael Penix stacked up, not going to be the end of the world because, again, we have Josh Allen who we're kind of banking on for weeks 15 through 17 anyway. And Kyle Pitts goes immediately after to a team with no tight ends. I'm not going to fault them whatsoever for taking Kyle Pitts, right? But like the earlier you take a position, the fewer overall slots you're going to dedicate to that position in your draft. Vice versa, the later you take a position. So like I would almost say like my instance of telling you to go with 4 to 7 running backs. Really 90% of the time you should be taking either 5 or 6 running backs. The only instance which you should be going 4 is if you take like 4 running backs inside the first 5 rounds. Then it's like, hey, maybe you consider only taking 4. The only times you take 7 running backs is like, hey, maybe you wait until round 7 to grab your first RB. It's like, hey, maybe you need to take 7. So it's push and pull. I'd say mainly you take 5 to 6 RBs with those extreme instances. And then it's just balancing it out. Okay, we will take Austin Eckler as our 4th RB. I think Eckler can give us usable weeks at the very beginning of the season in the flex spot, which is kind of what we need for a team like this. I know Joshua Palmer was in play for us there as well, having Josh Allen. But hell, I already drafted Khalil Shakir. I already drafted Keon Coleman. I already drafted Dalton Kincaid. How many Buffalo Bills do I truly need? The Flock Fantasy draft is August 16th. And the meetup is in Austin, Texas, August 17th. If you wanted to come hang out with everybody in the Flock League. Ooh, and I have good news, everyone. Underdog got back to me. We are going to start hosting Flock tournaments on Underdog every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday night. Okay. Sam Darnold goes 172. Zach Ertz off the board as well. We can take a 3rd tight end with this team. 2 tight ends are David Njoku and Dalton Kincaid, and we took them at pick 128 and 137. So we will take Hunter Henry here quite comfortably. It's going to be a team where we draft 5 running backs, 3 tight ends, and we'll grab 2 more receivers in this draft. So we need 1 more running back and 2 more wide receivers. Ollie says, could you elaborate? What is that? So last year we did the Flock tournaments on Underdog, which is a tournament. You'll see like where it says, like when you're looking at all the drafts on Underdog, right? And there's like Best Ball Mania, the Eliminator, the Sprint, the Marathon, the German Shepherd, but Superflex, Rookie Sophomores, Puppy 2, Big Dog, all these. You'll see an additional tournament here that says the Flock Tournament, and it'll be a tournament that we came up with the structure for that you can opt in and draft against other people that are members of the Flock. So the structure for it, let's see what happens here with Run It Hard. Jalen Noel goes, good. I want to Dimey Brown. I'll pair up Dimey Brown with Travis Hunter and go, what if Brian Thomas goes down and we just have these 2 wide receivers and 2 wide receiver sets. But the structure of the tournament's going to be, it's a $10 buy-in. In week 15 and week 16, instead of having to go up against like 5 or 6 other people to advance to the week 17 final, you'll only go up against 1 other person. So in weeks 1 through 14, you'll be going up against the 11 people that you drafted with, and it'll just be highest scoring team advances to the fantasy playoff tournament. And week 15, you'll go up against 1 other person. Week 16, you'll go up against 1 other person. And then week 17, it's a 100-person final. So I'm excited to do those again. And it'll be a $10 buy-in, $10,000 for first, and a 3-entry max. So you'll only be able to draft a total of 3 teams. So let's see. DJ Giddens off the board. We still are looking for another running back. Keenan Allen goes 196. I think we're going to probably be boring with this pick here. If we get the guy, yeah, I think we're going to get him. Calvin Austin goes. Calvin Austin wasn't going to be our play. I'm actually going to be looking at Ray McLeod just so we can have an Atlanta Falcon to pair up with Michael Penix just in case we need it. Tutu Atwell 198. Vinny actually is going to go with the running back, and he takes our guy in Justice Hill. Okay. I think we maybe mix in. Do we go Brashad Smith or do we go Marshawn Lloyd? Marshawn Lloyd is just in such a thin depth chart beyond Josh Jacobs that I think we can take him. And then around 18, we're going to be looking at Ray McLeod. If we don't get Ray McLeod, then we could just be looking at a couple of these random names. But more likely than not, we're just going to get our stack here with Michael Penix. But overall, I really like the team. Bills onslaught, where we have Josh Allen, a quarterback, paired up with Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Dalton Kincaid. We have Michael Penix as our quarterback too, paired up with Ray McLeod. Running back, we have McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Charbonnet, Eckler, Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receiver, we have Ladd McConkey, Travis Hunter, Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Egbuka, Keon Coleman, Diami Brown, and then Ray McLeod. And then tight end, we have David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid, and Hunter Henry. Let's see. Justin says, if I signed up on Underdog a few years ago and used a different code, but now I'd like to be affiliated with the Flock, how do I get that change? Is that just an Underdog support question? You're not able to get it changed. Like, you'll be able to get in the Flock tournaments, though. Like, the Flock tournaments aren't going to be limited to only people who use code Flock on Underdog. And anybody can hop in them. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Obviously, we are back in the studio. I'm not planning on leaving anytime until Christmas. So we'll be live streaming every single day until then. We're going to be drafting a ton of these teams, gearing up, getting ready for the Flock League, plus just having some extra fun on the side. So love to draft with y'all. If you could join us tomorrow night, the next night, whenever, I'll be here. I'll be waiting. I'm inevitable, if that's the right whatever. I appreciate you. I'm going to go in the other room, watch a movie with a lady, and hopefully she picked out a good one for us. I told her to try to find something I would like, but we know how that goes.